Hello, my name is Tim Jones. I'm a middle school educator at Albemarle County Public Schools, and I'm also currently a graduate student here at the University of Virginia. And I am going to give you a little preview here, a little walkthrough of a unit that I've put together for my eighth grade language arts classes that I decided to integrate some new technologies into. Some of them were new to me, some of them were new to my students. But I took an existing lesson, an existing unit that I've used with my classes previously, and have added these technology components in an effort to make the work more efficient, make it a little bit more collaborative, make it a little bit more hands-on in real time, as opposed to traditional pen and paper. So I'm going to walk you through kind of the build out of how I put this together and work all the way through the process and end by showing you some of the products that my students were able to create through the use of some of this technology. So I'll go here to my final project and documentation. First, I'll explain a little bit about the need for this technology integration. Uh, my final project learning experience focuses on literature circles and how I can aid in promoting collaboration between students and their learning groups. If you ever used literature circles before, they're a great way for students to have some choice in the novels that they're reading in their language arts classes. And also, there's a good deal of collaboration because students take on roles during their discussions. So each student is responsible for carrying their portion of the discussion to make sure that everything gets accomplished that they want to do. And then often they can lead to some kind of final portfolio, final project type uh, assessments. So working ahead, just to explain the instructional context a little bit more, this is a long unit. This unit was taking place essentially over 16 classes. I meet every other day, so effectively, uh, this is a 6 week assignment for my kids. And that includes reading in class, it includes the discussions, preparation for the discussions, and then putting together their portfolios at the end. Uh, all my kids, when it comes to technology, pretty well fluent in it. They all have school issued laptop devices and have proven to be pretty functional with Google as well. So I did use Google for this technology integration as well as a few other applications, which you'll see in just a moment. Uh, the focus here, like I said, they got to choose the books that they're reading for these literature circles. We're focusing very much on plot, word choice, point of view, characterization, setting, and our kind of overarching theme, which we're calling all of these novels outsider novels because they all focus on characters who work a little bit outside of the norm of society or their community or their country. So there's a common thread between all the books, which I find is helpful, especially when you have students uh, working together who aren't necessarily reading the same novel. If they have that kind of common thread, it allows them to have some similar discussions and experiences. My desired learning outcomes, these are straight from the Virginia Department of Education SOLs, uh, focusing on characterization, conflict, comparing and contrasting text on the same topic with similar themes, analyze how authors develop characters, conflict, point of view, voice, and tone, and how that conveys meaning. And then lastly, this is my big one here. Students will use evidence from the text to support when drawing conclusions, making inferences, or making predictions. So teaching them to use actual uh, evidence from the text is a big need for me, and that's where technology really came into play for me for putting this together. My assessments of learning. Students created visual and written products which identify and explain the textual evidence that leads to the reader's understanding of specific characters, and the same thing with conflicts, with point of view and setting. Additionally, they wrote reflections about how their discussions went, where they'd have to mention what they shared in the discussion, what partners shared in the discussion, and kind of how it formed their overarching opinions on everything. Here's a sample learning experience, and I have some links within this to some of my resources, so I'm going to kind of bounce around to those as I walk through this. But there is a slideshow. that's kind of how we opened up our day, was with this slideshow that kind of explained the literature circles to everyone. A little bit of some anticipatory guides in there, or anticipatory questions, uh, as well as some checks for prior knowledge to make sure that they are familiar with the ways that authors create character. I find that my sixth grade and seventh grade colleagues in my building do a great job of teaching this to my kids. So there's a lot of this that is review for them, but this is very useful to kind of get a sense of where they are. So this kind of explains how the literature circles work to the kids. At this point, I had already grouped them into groups, so I have them kind of broken up into these groups here. Uh, there's a little bit of an explanation about where they need to be at what point for their next literature circle meeting. Uh, and then, like I said, kind of a review of what we talk about with characterization and how authors create it. Moving on from there, the students had some time to read in class. They were given this graphic organizer to help them kind of gather their thoughts as they were reading and write it down into this little chart. So, a page number, something that they know about a character, how they know it, which ties it back to textual evidence, and then what piece of steel is this? Steel is an acronym for characterization, what a character says, thinks, effect on others, actions, and looks. Once they have that information together, they're essentially ready for their literature circle meetings. So they got together and they talked about things they noticed to see if they had any similarities. From there, they had some specific instructions for what everyone needed to share out. Everyone needed to share about at least one character that they recorded some information on, and also make some predictions. Since this was early on in their novels, this is a good chance for them to kind of see the exposition and see kind of where they thought the book was going to go from there. Uh, Once the meeting was concluded, they had kind of two more tasks. One was an individual work where they were creating products that showed visually what they learned about the character and also supported that with text evidence. And then lastly, a Google form reflection so that they could show me what was shared. Very brief, very quick page here. Which characters did you share about in your group, and what is one detail did you share about them? What is one prediction that either you or one of your partners had about the book so far? So just so I could be a little bit of a fly on the wall for their discussions, even though I was moving around the room as this was going on, it's nice to see what they thought was important about the conversations they were having. The technology that I included in here, Google in a lot of different forms. There's Google Docs, Google Slides, and Google Forms that they collaborated on. Uh, there is Canva, which is one of my favorite digital tools ever. It kind of can make wonderful art and graphic design come from people who have no prior graphic design experience. And it also has some very good accessibility features for kids who maybe have vision impairment, even slight vision impairment, like color blindness or nearsightedness. Everything can be kind of resized, and they can kind of work at whatever scale that they want. And lastly was Kialo, which was completely new to me. Kialo is a discussion forum, and you can create discussions as a teacher and then give your students some ability to collaborate with each other and share using Kialo. So I'll show you an example of that here at the very end of this video. Here I've got my evaluation plan. My evaluation for this lesson before I kind of finalized it was sort of twofold. One, I had shared this with a section of my students who I felt were most likely to give me like the best feedback that I could get from them, and then also I shared it with some of my PLC colleagues. And I've got kind of a list here of my big takeaways from both of those shares of things that I needed to kind of tighten up and clear up. And this was hugely, hugely valuable to me to kind of get this to its final stage. Here I've got some examples of kind of what it looked like for students and the resources. I've shown you a few of these now, but this kind of shows you all the different handouts and slides and presentations and tutorials that I put together for this lesson. And then lastly, here's some student products. Very cool stuff that they were able to come up with. This was made with Canva. This is an example of a character from the novel Fahrenheit 451, Clarice, who is it seems, one of the favorite characters for any of these novels. People really connect with this character of Clarice. Uh, but as you'll be able to see once this loads up, there's some pictures in here of what the student thinks that Clarice kind of looks like based on her descriptions, and then also some good text evidence here. And as you can see, there's the text from the book here on the left, and then over here on the right, a connection to this is what the author is showing me with this example. Uh, this is 2 pages here too. So another example of text from the book, and then what I know about the character based on that text. So very well done there. I'll show you another character product. This is from another book. This is from The Outsiders. So this is one of my students. This is her also made with Canva assignment here, talking about the character of Soda Pop from The Outsiders. As you can see, this is mostly text, but there's some good graphic support here too. Some nice use of color and fonts and layout to create this PDF. And every example that this student uses to show me what they know about the character, they're also connecting that to real text evidence, which is really the key that I want them to be able to do, to point to how they know what they know about the characters from the book. And lastly, I just want to show you a little bit of what that Kialo discussion looks like. I was really impressed with Kialo, just how easy it was to sign up. All my kids through Albemarle County have a Google account. So you can log in with that Google account to this Kialo discussion. So this is for the novel Front Desk. My question here is, what is the main conflict in Front Desk? From here, you can see my students have posted what they believe the main conflict is in the book. And as I kind of look through some of these, I can even select some like this here and see comments that other students have left for their classmates, either agreeing, disagreeing, commenting on the thoughts of their classmates. So a very easy to use interface here. It's simple. It doesn't do anything but the discussion, and that's exactly what I needed it to do. But in the past, with my literature circle groups, a lot of this discussion just wouldn't be recorded. I would not have any way of knowing what was said, because relying on someone to write it down wasn't always something that I could count on. So overall, I think technology did a great job of kind of enhancing my literature circles this go around. And I look forward to finding other ways that I can kind of integrate this into that unit going forward in future years. Thank you so much. I hope you have fun clicking around my website and finding some more details on what I was able to do with these literature circles. Bye.